One bowler in the history of cricket has 150 victims at a lower average than Jasprit Bumrah. He played 100 years back and was a freak. He was part quick and part spinner. When turning the ball didn't work, he had yorkers and bouncers. Sydney Barnes was the real deal. The wickets had already improved by the time he arrived as well, but he was too talented and arrogant to notice that. He was a beast when he would play for England, which wasn't that often as they didn't pay him enough money. He almost ended South Africa as a test nation, and the Australians handled him better, but they still agreed that he was the greatest bowler to ever draw breath. Barnes averaged 16.43 in Test cricket, while the rest of the bowlers in those games managed 28.14. He was 71% better than those guys, and that is why he has the lowest average in the history of the game with this many wickets. But Barnes hasn't played since 1914. So, in the last 110 years of Tests, Jasprit Bumrah has the best bowling average by any man with 150 wickets.
You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-battered geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also receive a 20GB daily data voucher. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a big hitter is coming for you at nordvpn.com/KIMBER right now. Thanks to MVPlay, I was able to make this. Their advanced technology can help any cricket team elevate their skills and performance.
This is all the players with an average of under 22 in Tests with 150 victims. The bowlers here are not just great. Lots of guys fit that criteria. These guys are brutal. You cannot just be one thing and be on this list, like let's say fast or tall or skillful. You need a combination of all of these different things to happen at the same time. And so if you go past Bumrah and Barnes, you get to Alan Davidson. If you looked at footage of him now, he'd look like a normal left-arm swing bowler. But the important thing to note is that didn't actually exist before him. No left-arm seamer had ever taken 100 wickets when he made his debut. They just weren't really a factor in cricket. And so a fast, swingy and accurate version of that completely destroyed everyone. Now, he wasn't like Wasim Akram, who was faster and also had more tools. But Wasim Akram had the advantage of coming through tape ball cricket. But both of them basically dominated in a period where they just were not left-armers at all. And in Wasim Akram's case, there weren't that many more. They certainly weren't as fast as him or as skillful as him. I mean, Wasim Akram could swing the both ways conventionally and with reverse. He was almost a perfect killing machine for that period. Now, of course, Bumrah bowls with his right arm, but his action is also so unlike anyone else in the world that there is no way you can regularly prepare for it. Unlike Akram, his ability to develop with rubber balls on flat wickets has meant there is no time it is nice facing Jasprit Bumrah. There are many people who think that Malcolm Marshall is the greatest fast bowler of all time. He definitely possessed every tool of fast bowling when he played. He could seam it, swing it both ways, be accurate and rapid. And because he was shorter, his bouncer was a different kind of weapon. It skidded, making it almost impossible to get under. Bumrah is another bowler who has all of the available modern tools in his armory. On top of Marshall's, he has reverse swing plus wobble and slow balls. Many bowlers can do all of these things, but he can do all of them at such a high level and also has the ability to move between any of these skills when he needs them. Fred Truman was another quick, well ahead of his time. He was the first bowler to 300 wickets, and he was a bowler with an incredible skill set that most people of his pace just never had anything like. So he could basically use his speed to scare people or just work them over with his skills to get them out. And when you think of Bumrah, you think he has enough pace to scare people. And batters don't really like to face him when he's putting the pedal down. Even with that, he only really uses that extra speed when he needs it. He's not a traditional fast bowler. He's more like Fiery Fred. He uses the speed when he has to. He can gear up or gear down. Joel Garner and Curtly Ambrose are the two who bring together big height, fast speed, and incredible accuracy. And I would say, all things considered, these are the three things that are the most important as a fast bowler. And one reason we don't get a lot of tall fast bowlers is because quite often when they pitch the ball up, it floats. But with these two, it did not. Not that either of them actually worried about pitching it up all that much. Their ability to get the ball to jump off of a length was absolutely terrifying. But I think most importantly, they never let a player really get away from them. I mean, let's be honest, Bumrah is a very different kind of bowler to these two. He's listed at 178 centimeters, so they're like 6, 7, 8 inches taller than him. But I think the one thing that these guys have in common with Bumrah is that they're all defensive bowlers. And it might seem strange, as Curtly Ambrose is famous for violent lifters, while Garner and Bumrah are for devastating Yorkers. But their main skill is that you cannot ever get away from them. They just trap you in one spot like spiders and eventually devour you. And the next bowler here is Glenn McGrath, who has some similarities with the above too, but he obviously just wasn't as fast. He was also very accurate, and we mean accurate on another level compared to Garner and Ambrose. And so because he didn't have the pace, he had to use his supercomputer brain to remember every single batter and what worked for them. If you ask Glenn McGrath, even to this day, what number wicket each batter was, he can go through every single one. That kind of memory meant that he was essentially a fast bowling legend, a fast bowling coach, and an analyst all in one. And Bumrah is incredibly smart as well. His intelligence is less memory and more to do with feel. And by that I mean, at any moment, Bumrah can work out where to bowl on any surface for any player. And of course, like McGrath, he has the skills to change it up mid-spell without any issue. The only spinner on this list is Jim Laker, the perfect bowler for English wet wickets. He was an accurate, skillful off-spinner, but most importantly, he was incredibly fast for his era. This made him a near perfect bowler for the last of the uncovered period of English wickets. And so, think about Bumrah. He is the perfect bowler for modern tests. With players attacking so much more, being a standard test bowler of just bowling at the top of off stump doesn't work as much. Sometimes you have to stop the scoring or use white ball skills to dismiss them altogether. And who better than Bumrah is set up ideally for that? 150 wickets is a lot, but there are some bowlers who have taken way more, of course. But if you forget the overall tally for a moment, one thing we would look at is his plus years. Because this is a really interesting method, because bowlers especially don't play every game. And so when you're looking at greatness, how do you split the careers of Jasprit Bumrah with just 150 wickets and Courtney Walsh with 500? It's a bit unfair to say that Courtney Walsh was a stock bowler because he was a lot better than that. But in some ways, he was the greatest stock bowler of all time. So great at that job that he was kind of more than that. But he was also someone with a mid-20s bowling average, right? So, would you prefer 11 years of Walsh averaging better than 25? Or 5 years of Bumrah averaging closer or even less than 20? As a fan, you have to kind of decide what means more to you. Also, while Bumrah has the second best bowling average of any player with 150 wickets, others have taken 150 wickets at different parts of their career at a lower average. And not just Barnes. Waqar Younis, who was probably at his peak as good a bowler as we have ever had. Ian Botham once did it, and he could bat a little bit as well. Ray Linwell was another one from Australia, and Sean Pollock, and of course, Alan Davison as well. So again, you have to weigh all these things up when you're looking at great players. But I just want to go back to Laker for a moment. We talked about how Barnes was 71% better than the bowlers in his game. Well, Laker was 33% better than the other spinners in his game and 30% better than the other seamers. So average is important, but there is context to that. So this is the list of all the bowlers and their ratios compared to other seamers in their games. And you look at all this and you see that part of Bumrah's success has been no doubt the fact that he's been bowling in what is a great era for seamers. Compare him with Steyn, who obviously got much friendlier home tracks, and yet even then he was 44% better than the seamers in his own game. Bumrah's nowhere near that level. And Steyn's a really interesting one to compare him to, because Steyn bowled in a period that batters absolutely dominated, and he was still great. And so that made us look at Bumrah on flat wickets as well, because his traditional skills of kind of line and length and nibbling the ball around a little bit are obviously elite, but I'm not sure they're that much better than the other bowlers that he's gone up against. However, he is specifically a great bowler when other seamers get nothing out of the surface. He's a complete legend at this. The only bowler who is better, again, is Barnes. And I think that's what separates these two bowlers at the moment from everyone else before them. It is the ability to always be a plus bowler on any surface at any time. So let me put it this way. There is a bowler on this list called Bill Johnston, who is a legend by his average, but because his career overlapped with Keith Miller, Ray Linwell, and then Davison, he got a little bit forgotten. The reason Johnston was so good starts with his left arm. As we said before, that was a huge advantage. But Johnston had another one. He was 3 bowlers in one. He started as a left-arm finger spinner, but he could also bowl pretty handy seam up, meaning he was a threat when the ball was nipping around as well. Then, if needed, he could also ramp up to serious pace. So depending on what the conditions were, he could be 3 different bowlers. And Johnston certainly wasn't at the level of Barnes and Bumrah. But the biggest difference here is that he was 3 different bowlers and they're 3 bowlers in one. Barnes called himself a spinner, but mostly everyone else said that he was a seamer. So he was definitely both. That meant that no pitchers or batters could ever match up well against him, and he could also use his little bit of pace to just blow through someone with a Yorker. He was a consistent threat the whole way through. Bumrah is different to Barnes, but he does possess many things that spinners do, and the setup ability is one. But other bowlers have had that as well. And he also has a great cutter that is basically an off spinner, right? But where Bumrah really shines is different from Barnes. He's not really a spinner hybrid in the same way, but instead he's a fast bowler who can use spin or pace skills to be good no matter what the conditions are. And the truth is that you need so many different things to be on this list because taking a lot of wickets for under 22 in Test cricket is basically impossible. Yet Jasprit Bumrah is doing it now. Of course, injuries, age, and circumstances can all change. But right now, and over the last 110 years, no Test bowler has been this great for their first 150 wickets. Jasprit Bumrah is an outlier when it comes to Test bowling in a way that we haven't seen in more than a century. I have a book out with Abhishek Mukherjee, and it is called Overthrowing Cricket's Empire. And it's about the stories of how each team beat England for the first time. We go all the way back to the demon Fred Spofforth getting annoyed at W.G. Grace for acting a little bit like Alex Carey. And then we come all the way to present times with Rashid Khan's England's redemption. We cover every single team to beat England in a major international, but we also talk about the incredible stories like the barefoot basher from Fiji that almost played for New Zealand. In fact, this book is full of tales like that, like how Pakistan lost a top batter after he was on the run from an angry husband of a movie star he was having an affair with, and also how one future captain of his nation realised he might have to go out and bat at Lords and that he didn't own his own pads. Cricket was used as a tool by the Empire, but what happens when those nations grow up and get good at it? Find Overthrowing Cricket's Empire on Amazon today.